Andrew Urquhart with you on the program today. JuliaGrace joining me. Kia ora, Julia.
Morena.
Now, we were going to talk antelopes, and I've absolutely no idea what it's about, but I'm going to keep myself in suspense for another week, because something that I wanted to get your views and opinions on.
Yep.
I mean, most of the world watching the Olympics at the moment. I'm just watching the social media results, the TikTok Olympics. That's how I see it. But actually, for these athletes who have spent so many hours, in some cases, most of their lives, preparing for an event which is over in seconds,
yeah,
gosh, that must mess with your head. And I thought, well, hey, Julia will have something wise to say about this, because as a performer, as somebody who puts themselves up on stage and has won many awards for your achievements, sometimes you put yourself out there and you don't win an award, and then you've got to process all of that and what impact that has on your mental wellness, because there's a cost to it, right?
Yes, absolutely. I have been watching the Olympics. In fact, I was at the gym and they put up a screen. We're watching the 200-meter, the guys sprinting.
Yeah.
And I said to the guys at the gym, I assume that while we're watching them, I assume they're watching us too, because
Yes.
we're working really hard here on the treadmill.
Exactly.
But I was actually thinking about watching those processes, and then the high jump came on.
Yeah.
And high jump is the sport of who's the last loser.
Yes.
Because the only way you know that you've won is the person before you lost, and every other participant has actually had to knock that bar off. Even the silver and the bronze medalists have to have failed to have reached those heights. And so you've really nailed it there, that any person who is in any creative, any sporting, any artistic endeavour, any workplace thing where you put your neck out, there is a level of risk, and we lose a lot more than we win.
Yeah.
We don't put up a big, a whole lot of pictures of the medals that we didn't win.
Yeah.
We just put up the medals that we do win. And I think that finding some resilience in that is actually a really powerful part of our mental health and well-being. And someone said to me years ago, he said, if you want to do well, just learn how to fail.
Yeah.
Just learn how to lose and get through and out the other side. One of the things we talk about is understanding that we can do hard things.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really challenging, but also...
Because I think there's a defense mechanism, isn't there, which says, gosh, that felt awful when I strived and I was unsuccessful and I made a fool of myself in front of all of those people. That's something I want to avoid at all costs in future. I'll never try again. Most of our psychology is screaming that at us, and yet somehow we've got to process that as mature grown-ups and go, you know what, let's try again. Batter up.
Yes.
Let's see if I make a fool out of myself again. That's resilience, right?
Yeah, and why would we? Why would we when all we see is the failure?
Yeah.
And so I think chopping it down into really small goals and tasks and going, when I get the small achievement, that does give us the same dopamine boost. That does give us that same hit of, that really feel-good feeling, even though it might not be the big thing. So I do have a little acronym that I use called Feel It, Face It, Forget It.
Okay.
And it's a little tongue-in-cheek because it's easier said than done. But when we get into those, failure situations, or we don't do well, we fail the test, or we get negative feedback as well, it's not gonna feel pleasant. You've absolutely nailed it there. The fire inside of us burns deeply when we go like, I don't ever want to feel this horrible feeling again. It is not going to be pleasant. But that chemical response in the moment, if we don't continue to keep telling ourselves the story of how much of a loser we are, it washes out in 90 seconds. So it's a minute and a half countdown for those feelings just to actually dissipate on a chemical level. Yeah. So we're going to feel it. It's not going to be nice. Secondly, we're going to have to face it. And sometimes we have to face it and just go, you know what? I gave it a go. I did my best, and it got me to second, third 10th, 100th place, whatever that is,
Yep.
and sort of moderating our goals there. Sometimes we have to pull someone in and actually say to them, can you give me a bit of perspective?
Yeah.
You did 1,000th in a marathon. You've done better than me.
Yeah,
Who's
exactly.
ever run a marathon, right? So having someone else come in and give us a little bit of feedback. So that's feel it, that's face it.
Mhm.
And then at some level, we've got to put our Teflon coating on and go, I have done all I can. I'm going to allow this one
Yeah.
just to go. Now, we say forget it. It's not easy, not easy to do. But actually, at some level, going, I'm going to let this one slide off me. I'm going to allow myself to step up, say, I tried, I can do hard things, and actually, I'm going to give it a go for maybe something different next time.
Yeah, and hey, the forget it one, very much easier said than done. But I suppose it can either push us forward and go, okay, I'm wanting to do better than I did last time. I'm wanting to overcome that unbearable feeling by perhaps achieving more than I did last time, make slightly less of a fool of myself, or whatever it happens to be. Or it can, shut us down. It's going to have some impact on who we are, but whether it pushes us forward or backward, I suppose that's the choice in the moment, right?
Yeah, and sometimes it's sideways. Sometimes it's going, look, I've lost enough running races. I'm going to try long jump. Keep going, maybe I'm not physically cut out for this, and maybe I'm going to get the same level of, of feeling of achievement of trying something that's a little bit different. Maybe I'm actually going to. There's a reason there's a Masters Games because people don't, you don't compete the 20-year-olds up against the 80-year-olds because you want to stay in your lane and you want to stay within, what's a fair competition for you. So I reckon that doing well in your bowls club at your retirement village is going to get you the same level of dopamine as Roger Federer winning a tennis match, and in fact there's less to lose, so in some ways it's more fun. So putting yourself out there doesn't have to mean continuing doing the same thing over and over again. It can mean just going, hey, I'm gonna say forget that one and just do something different.
And something which I think the Olympics has shown us is that the joy of having a go. And we've seen this with the Turkish shooter, and achieving amazing things. But also, I think recently with the skater from Australia, she's like 14 years old, and there's such a smile on her face. And I think that in amongst the the professional competitiveness, we can lose the fact of, hey, this should still be fun. There should still be a smile on our face, regardless of how well we do. Perhaps a bigger smile if it's a gold medal at the Olympics, but not losing the joy of the process and having too much committed to the results, perhaps.
Love it. And also not losing the joy of winning on a small scale still feels great. Winning a medal at your local tennis club, beating someone and, or just achieving something, saying, I'm going to do 10,000 steps today and doing 10,001, that is going to feel great, even though it might not be Olympic-sized goals.
Exactly. If at first you don't succeed, try something easier. That's my motto, Julia, and loving that. Hey, if people want to find out more, of course, JuliaGrace.co.nz. Thank you for the encouragement that you bring, and thanks for joining us today.
You're so welcome.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.